Okay, I think we're live now on our streaming platform. We're live on Google or wherever we are on
Google.
Zoom.
So
I mean,
random. We're live on Zoom with people
yeah.
people live, and we're also live on Facebook on our Dragonfly Wellness page,
And
our
YouTube.
Dr. Syra page, and our YouTube channel. So that's
Yes.
everywhere where we are. So welcome wherever you're joining us from. If you're joining us live, we would love to hear from you in the chat. Let us know where you're in from. If you're joining us after the recording, you're also welcome to leave a comment if you'd like and just kind of keep it interactive. Let's get started.
Yeah, welcome to April.
Of 2024.
Yeah, happy Easter weekend and happy Easter, I guess. It's a lot happening. A lot happening and not a lot happening at the same time, I guess. Whatever that means. What?
Spazan's just saying random words that don't really make sense in a row. Like this is.
Or follow your lead. That's
Oh.
that's how most of your interaction with me is.
Yeah, off camera.
Off camera, yeah.
In case you don't know us already, I'm Dr. Syra, and I am the co-founder of Dragonfly Academy and the clinical director at Dragonfly Wellness Center.
And I'm Faizan Sabzali. I'm a life and relationship coach at Dragonfly Wellness. Yeah, we're having there's a lot coming up. Like your women's retreat is coming up soon. We've got some major changes happening already at the Wellness
Women's
Center
Retreat, we
Academy.
actually had a spot open up. We had a
Okay.
cancellation.
Okay.
So if there's anyone on our call who really, really, really wants to come to the Women's Retreat, and you've been coming to Monday Musings for a while, and you're interested in joining us, let me know by sending me an email at drsyra@dragonflywellness.ca. And please don't negotiate on price and all that. It's the price is what it is. It's $18.99 plus GST. So if you can afford it, you can afford the time. Send me a note because we do have one spot that has been open. So just a FYI, that just happened over the weekend. So
got it. So I know that's happening. We've got our practitioners are getting busy. We've got changes happening. We're excited, kind of where obviously the business is going, and the reason I bring that up is because a lot of these changes are bringing up
perfectionism.
Our perfectionism, because we want it done just right, just the way we like it,
just the way that we envisioned it in the past.
Yeah. And one of the challenges has been allowing for something new to show up, and allowing for a different avenue of execution that we didn't think of.
Right.
Right.
So, when you get into the role of doing something a particular way, day after day, week after week, month after month, you can start thinking like that's the way to do things. And I think since COVID, I think the beginning of this Monday Musings journey really started with COVID. So what happened, for those who might not know the history, I was approached by someone in my faith community to run a group for women online. So we thought maybe 20 people or so might show up for weekly sessions. And it was just a place to build community and stay connected during those difficult first few months of the pandemic. And it was a 10-week program, and we got to like week 8, and every single week we were getting over 300 women showing up to this group, and it's called Women on Wednesdays, and it was such a lifeline for so many people. So they requested around week 8, people were like, we don't want this to be a 10-week program, can you go longer? So we extended it, ended up extending it 2 years into COVID, so 2020 and 2021. And I remember when the decision was being made to close that program, how hard it was, because between 200 and 300 women showing up every single week, week after week after week on a Wednesday evening. And for me to say at some point, like, I can't do it anymore. I can't give that time anymore. It was hard. And it took a lot of soul searching to make that decision. But eventually we decided to end Women on Wednesdays. And that's when Monday Musings was born. Because Faith and I, prior to that, had a podcast, and that's kind of how we were doing our work in the world. And then when this Women on Wednesdays thing closed, I felt like there was this gap, and people needed a place to come week after week. And so we developed Monday Musings, and that was open to all genders and all people from all different faith communities. So it wasn't just exclusive. And we kind of opened it up, and we hoped to provide that weekly touch point for people, where they could come and have these conversations. And we were just doing the math, and we realized that this May will be completing our second year of Monday Musings.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on that note,
What are you trying to say?
like, are you trying to say it? Am I trying to say it?
I don't know what
So
you're
we've
trying
been
to say.
we've been talking about, how we use our time and where we use our time, and what our weeks look like. And one of the things that's coming to a close is Try and Chat. So every Saturday for the last 4 years, I've been showing up with women who have symptoms of depression and anxiety. And in this June, we're actually going to be bringing that group to a close. So it'll be completing 4 years in. And another thing that we'll be completing is Monday Musings. So we're going to be continuing through the month of April, so for 4 more weeks, and then we'll bring this also to a close. And this will be our 2-year mark for that. So it's something that's come to us over the last little while, and we've been kind of trying to figure out when's the right time to say it. And I think we're getting close now to having that conversation. Somebody's giving us a round of applause regarding 2 years. Thank you. Someone else is saying, "Wow, amazing!" And I know there's also probably some sadness for people who have been coming here regularly and kind of getting a lot of benefit from what we're doing here. So we know that there will probably be some sadness about it, especially if it's part of your weekly routine. So we wanted to give you a little bit of time and not just say today's our last one, but that you have another couple of weeks, and then we'll be closing Monday Musings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I think for us, obviously, we're grateful for the community that shows up almost every week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for us to continue would be giving into our both our
Perfectionism.
perfectionist nature.
It's like we started this thing and now we have to do it forever.
Yeah, and and we're Sarah and I are honest about this work that we do, and the idea of us sharing was just our service, and hopefully what we've learned we can pass on. But it was always it's been important, and we share our struggles with you as well. So during Monday Musings, both of us have had to get on Monday Musings when our fathers passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Both of
Well, we
us
chose to.
we chose to. We
Yeah.
chose to. It's not that we had to, but but you saw us go through some of those processes. We've gone through it when we've had a fight 5 minutes before
And then
we get
talked
up.
about the fight here.
And we've gone through it with our kids' struggles. We've gone through it with our own struggles, and it's to be honest that what shows up on Instagrams, and all of these stories that we post about ourselves, it's not true.
Or it's part.
Partly true,
It's part of the picture. It's not
part
the
of the
whole
picture,
picture.
but a lot of the picture is us, all of us, uh, struggling but making it through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the struggles that Sarah and I have are different than the struggles you have. And we're not trying to tell you how to live through those struggles or how to get through those struggles, but we're hopefully providing those tools. And part of this, this work of ending something, so then we can have space. I think what we were talking about is like, okay, what are we going to fill this time with? And really, like, we have to have a conversation. We're not going to fill the time with anything, really, not at this point. We will, I know, eventually in the future, but right at this point, Sarah and I have been talking, like, we don't get rest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, we get our sleep, but like, our vacations are also
Yeah.
work filled
Mm-hmm.
vacations. So we don't really get time to just rest.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is just, we've been talking about it with other people, Now it's like, ooh, I think we
Yeah,
might
like
have to.
we relaunched the burnout course and realizing, wait a minute, part of that course was that commitment to, detoxing from that hustle culture and the go, go, go and full, 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 and every
Yeah,
minute has to be spent in a productive way. And it's like, no, that doesn't work, right? That
yeah.
doesn't work. And we're bumping across other leaders and role models who are continuing that, right? Who are saying, I just got out of surgery, but I'm going to show up for my thing, or I just did this hard thing and I'm going to push through, or yes, my family's struggling, but I'm going to and it's like we want to do it differently than
And,
that.
and sometimes it's important. Yes, we need to push through, right? But the constant nature, we moved out to this place. I don't think we could have dreamt it. I think you dreamt it as a child in your painting, but I don't think we could have dreamt of being in this particular place. But I've been working nonstop. You've been working nonstop since we've moved. We've had some moments here and there, but we haven't really been able to explore
Hmm.
kind of what's life here, right? So I think is that's part of it is for us is to be um, uh, able to provide ourselves that opportunity to, like somebody saying, time to rejuvenate,
Hmm.
right? Rejuvenate our spirits. We are launching some new programs, right, as part of Dragonfly Wellness and Dragonfly Academy. Um,
And we'll have that the weekly newsletter will
yeah,
continue to come out where we'll be telling you more of what we're doing, but we're doing a lot less live, um, like real time things and more recorded ththings and more
yeah.
things you can access kind of at your own
So
pace.
one of the things that I know I'm going to be starting is with Lucas, who's our male therapist that has joined. He's come on this particular um, uh, Monday Musings a couple, maybe a few weeks ago. You may have heard him. So him and I are going to start like kind of a man to man type conversation, like whatever kind of comes to
Like
mind
a
for us.
podcast.
Yeah, it's like a podcast. You're doing your kind of recorded conversation. You're going to be doing a little bit more recorded type teachings. So I know there's other things that are happening. It's just again giving it space for us to do that, and so kind of now diving into our topic of perfectionism. Your video this week was about um,
Self,
guilt and shame
yeah.
and how that kind of leads into perfectionism. Obviously,
Well,
as we're making
we have our dog here again, and she's eating my plants. Is she
yeah,
eating them or just
I don't
smelling
know.
them?
As we're making as we're making changes here to our format, one of the things that we're struggling with is with like guilt, right, around this. Oh, maybe we should continue, right? And so how does guilt and shame kind of play in and kind of lead into perfectionism?
Well, when we're feeling so in the video, I talked about the differences between guilt and shame, right? So, guilt, and there's lots of different people defining it. I kind of use Brene Brown's definitions of guilt and shame. They make the most sense to me, like from an evolutionary perspective. So, guilt is where I've done something wrong. Actually, Gabor Mate talks about this too.
Mm-hmm.
So, guilt is where I've done something wrong. Shame is where there's something wrong with me. Guilt is actually adaptive. Okay, so it's important that in human societies there's a little bit of guilt when you do something wrong, because then you're going to avoid harming people, right? So we have our triplets. My sister has triplets, and so they've been visiting us. And one of the things that they're learning to do is push each other. And so when one of them pushes the other one and then the other one cries, the one that pushed has this like, oops, what did I do? Like they feel bad. And that's good. They should feel bad because they should know that it's not okay to push. And that should come internally from them, that like, oops, I've done something wrong that's harmful to someone, right? Now, if someone yelled at them when they pushed, that voice doesn't come from internal. It
Mm.
comes from external, right? And most of us are socialized that way, where some adult made us feel bad. Now, the other twist that happens is some of the things are appropriate, like pushing. You should feel a little bad if you harm someone, right? But maybe some other thing, like maybe being trying to be helpful, like picking up the mop and trying to help, shouldn't feel be made to feel bad about that. But now this child's picked up the mop and there's water all over the floor, and so I get mad at the child. Now it's confusing to them. Oh, is something weird happening with the
Yeah, I don't know.
video?
Our internet might be having some issues today,
Okay.
or my
I don't know if
computer.
we're frozen. Okay. So what that means is that some for many of us we were made to feel guilty externally when we weren't actually, it wasn't adaptive in that moment for us to feel guilty. The guilt came from outside. And so when that happens too frequently and inappropriately, what happens is we start feeling shame. So shame is, there's something wrong with me. Not I did something wrong that I could correct, but there's something wrong with me that I cannot correct. Do you see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
So shame is not adaptive. Shame makes us shrink, it makes us shut down, it makes us hide. Whereas guilt makes us reach out and say sorry. So people who have this like chronic guilt problem, often what they're feeling is not guilt. They call it guilt, but it's actually more like shame that they're feeling. Like, something's wrong with me. Why do I keep messing up? Why do I always, those types of thoughts? That's not about a behavior now. That's about a being, a state of being. So I just wanted to open up this conversation with everyone here, and dig into that a little bit around guilt and shame and how it links to perfectionism. See, perfectionism, the way that we're talking about it, is kind of like a bad thing. So it's not about like high achievement or striving for excellence. It's about every single thing has to be a particular way, and it's that controlling element. Now, living a human life, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be important that we can manage our mistakes and say sorry and recalibrate and all that. We can't do that if we're feeling a sense of shame. We actually don't want to take any risks when we're feeling shameful. So shame is, it keeps perfectionism in place because we just never take a risk, we never get anything wrong, so we never feel bad about ourselves, but we also never grow.
Yeah. And perfectionism itself can also then lead to burnout, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that constant. So there's the other side is where you continue pushing, where you take more risks, but you want to do it always to the utmost level, right? The optimized level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it never kind of never ends really. And so you can continue pushing and pushing and pushing, and then it never actually fills your cup,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Because
okay,
we're always going for the next the
right,
next achievement,
right,
the next achievement, the next achievement, the next achievement.
yeah.
So just like to check in with people who are here with us live, whether it's on Zoom or Facebook or YouTube. What are your thoughts about guilt and shame as you kind of hear us explain it this way? What's kind of occurring to you, or what questions might you have about this? And for those watching after, feel free to write your comments in the chat.
Hmm.
What are your questions about this relationship between guilt, shame, and perfectionism?
So while the questions are coming, part of the guilt is about the action.
Mm-hmm.
The shame is about the identity, right?
Right.
Like it's about me, about the person,
Mm-hmm.
and so what are some of the ways to get past shame?
So that, I think that's like I said, inner renovation, right?
Hmm.
Because we have to kind of think about who is the I
Yeah,
that I'm ashamed of.
yeah, yeah. And so if if it was my client
Mm-hmm.
and I was asked that question, at least for me, I would start at kind of looking at the beliefs, the core beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good place to start, or is there another place you would start the work at?
I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the beliefs about myself that
Hmm.
feed my shame story?
Right. Yeah, because these are patterns, right? Like, so these are automatic patterns. So something happens, I react in a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think we think of reaction as that external action,
Mm-hmm.
but the reaction could just be totally internal.
Mm-hmm.
I might be smiling, like somebody says, "Hey," right? When somebody wrote that email to us with the feedback saying they didn't like the Monday music session because I was speaking too much. I don't know what, I don't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it was like, originally, if we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great, except internally, I'm like, oh, people don't like me. Like again, like I must have done something wrong, right? Like so that internal reaction is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the yeah the
It's not what you're
external
showing
reaction.
to the world.
Yeah.
And there's people who are like, I don't care what people think of me, but inside you feeling small and insecure,
Hmm.
right? So you actually do care. You're just trying to not make it look like you care, which are two different things as well. And that also feeds that shame story of I'm doing it wrong, there's something wrong with me, I can never get it right.
Gotta pet the dog. She can't do it right. She's whimpering.
Our dog sitter daughter is super sick tonight, so she does not have the bandwidth to look after the dog. Last week it was, what was the problem last week?
You weren't here, so
Oh, there's no
but
problem.
the week before, uh,
She was like babysitting someone else's
yeah,
dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways.
We're losing our help here. Our helpers are falling away.
No, but again, it's this piece, right? It's like if we didn't have it perfect when we started Monday Musings, everything had to be perfect. Right
Remember?
now, the stream is it seems to be freezing here and there, and we're like, okay, it's gonna be
But
what
when
it's
we
going to be.
started, we were so precise and
Yeah,
particular and
right. Like, okay, what are we gonna talk about today? Like, and allowing for some of that flow to happen, but to allow for all of that, um, it takes us doing that work that we
mm-hmm.
talked about, identifying those patterns, right? And yeah, so I think I get my the question. Let's see what other questions come up if they come up through the different platforms. Um, again, how do we move past it? Like that's always the question,
Well, the
right?
first thing is to identify it, right? So when the feeling
So, what are
that
some of the symptoms of
when
perfectionism?
you find yourself to be really controlling, or other people tell you that you're really controlling,
Mm-hmm.
you like things to be a particular way, and if they're not that way, you find your mood is affected by that. Um, you think there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, many things. You have a lot of things that have to be done a right way, and you have super high standards for yourself, and you don't really take um, criticism well. Those are some
Yeah.
indicators.
And okay, so I think that's important for us to know,
But
right? How do we even identify
yeah, so
if we're
knowing
being perfect?
and sometimes it's easy to see perfectionism in others but not in yourself. So
Mm,
you might tell yourself, I'm a pretty flexible person and I go along with things, but when it comes to my car, if anybody spills food in my car, then I get really really angry about that or upset about that, right? So you might not be perfectionist in every area. There might be specific things where you're very particular about them.
mm-hmm.
And I heard this really interesting thing. I was listening to Abraham Hicks. Interesting if you're interested in the law of attraction and that kind of work, on YouTube. They have all these videos on Abraham Esther Hicks talking about Abraham, and so it's like Abraham Hicks is what it's called. And she asked the question. She says, "Would you prefer truth or untruth?" And of course, everyone in the audience is like, "Truth," right? And then the next question is, would you prefer to feel happy or unhappy?
Happy.
Everyone in the audience says happy. And she said, okay, so if you had to choose, would you choose truth or happiness?
Mm, happiness.
And there's this weird, like, rumble in the audience, right? Because it's like, yeah, we've spent so much energy saying things have to be a certain way. That's how we've been adulting. We've been learning, like, there's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a right. That's what we've been learning for decades. And suddenly you're saying, well, even if someone's doing it the wrong way, I can be happy. I can be happy even if the things around me are not right or correct or truthful. Or and she talks about evidence, right? Like there's evidence to say this is true, and it's like, okay, so what's more important right now? That truth and that you're locked into the evidence, or your internal state,
Mm,
right? And it's not about being apathetic. It's not about saying you don't get riled up about things or you don't care about things. It's saying my internal state is my priority. And so whatever's happening around me, I'm going to really be thoughtful, first of all, about the situations I put myself in, the people I surround myself with. If I do have to surround myself with certain people, how I interact with them, or choose to what degree I interact with them, and what do I make it mean, their words and whatever. So I'm choosing my internal state. And the benefit of that is that now I can make different choices. Perfectionism means everything around me has to be a certain way for me to feel okay.
mm,
And that's where it's a trap.
right. And it's a trap because externally things always change, right? 1 minute things are fine. Next minute the car breaks down, the car locks don't work, right? Like all of
Hmm.
those things that you thought you were going on a little time off with your
I saw
daughter.
the mechanic 3 times.
Yeah, because a
He knew
car.
my first name by the end of our trip in a
Right,
1 week period.
right.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
but not allowing that to impact how you felt and how you connected with your daughter on this trip, right? Like, so I think part of it is just um, allowing for that space to say things will always happen on the outside,
Hmm.
right? Like life will change and life will destruction is also part of life, right? I think that's one thing we struggle with is that destruction. When things break down and when things don't work out, that's part of life. Out of that comes a rebirth.
Hmm.
But to allow for that rebirth means you have to be open. Otherwise, you're always kind of clamming for like, oh, that that car that we had 3 years ago, it was so perfect. Yeah, but it's been 3 years. It's been ridden, you know, 60, 70,000 kilometers, and all of those things have happened right since then. You can't hold on to that car from 3 years ago, right?
I'm
I don't
um
know if I'm making sense, but
I'm doing I don't know if I mentioned it here, but I'm training as a psychedelic psychotherapist. That's my newest interest and endeavor. And so looking at psychedelics and how we can use them for healing different mental health challenges. And one of the things I was watching today in my course about death and dying,
mm,
and how for many of us who live in the West, death is kind of seen, kind of framed as like a failure to live, rather than a part of the natural life, like the natural cycles of nature.
mhm,
It's like winter is not a failure, it's just the next season,
mhm,
right? Spring is not a success, it's just the next season. But I think the way that we see life and death as the failure, and so this idea of success and failure is that like, that's how we're measuring our life, so problematic, right?
mhm. And as part of then perfectionism, our fear of failure as well, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like,
Because if failure means something about me,
yeah.
that if I've failed at something, that I'm somehow not worthy or not good enough, or it says something about me because I've failed. And, I spent some time on this trip with some old friends, and it's really interesting to listen to them speak because they both have very different like life stories. So one is really ambitious career person and the other is a mom, right? And used to be kind of really interested in their career, not really so much anymore, really really enjoying the mom life. And just listening to them both talk about their lives and seeing how similar their stories were, even though their external considerations were very different and their external stressors were very different, their inner stories were so similar.
Mm,
And we talked a lot about how there's like what is the template, what is like the where we're trying to get to,
right.
right? And who gets to set that and who gets to say whether I've achieved that or not? Because I think we've been sold a story like you check off these boxes and then equals happiness or equals something.
Mm-hmm.
But even checking off certain check boxes or other check boxes, it's like we're feeling the same way
Right.
no matter what our external life experiences have been. So
Right.
that perfectionism of checking off this didn't help anybody,
Yeah.
right? In the conversations that I had with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Lately, obviously, because we've got so many things on the go on the business side, we've got um, we've got this long list of tasks
Mm,
as a team.
Microsoft Teams
but uh,
task list.
but as a team, we're trying to manage, right? Because there's just a lot of things that we're trying to do, and a lot of things aren't getting checked off. Which like for me personally, at least, I won't speak for anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm behind on.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wasn't if I was just focused on that task list, I would have missed that extra time with one of our practitioners to go for a walk.
Mm.
I would have missed that time for somebody else coming in and saying, "Hey, let's go for a walk," and actually having a walk, and then
You miss the human
and, and,
moments,
and then
right?
being invited to hey, somebody reminding me that hey, there's a sweat lodge that's happening. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, right, like I would have missed some of those things that kind of in that flow. But I've been like that before, right? Opportunities. I mean, I wasn't aware of it, so I don't know how many passed. But I'm sure some opportunities passed me by because I was like, right, do these 5 things and we'll be fine,
Right.
right? Find somebody that'll agree to marry you. Okay, fine.
Check.
Okay, trick somebody. Good, done.
You didn't trick me.
I wasn't talking about you,
Eyes
but
are
okay,
wide open.
no, but so right, you get married, have kids, or have a child, or maybe have 2 kids, uh, and then you remember like in between, it was like we were struggling. We had okay, then even after the second child, get a house. Okay, fine, got a house, and then we were
No.
like about to like declare bankruptcy, right? Like literally, like we were so close. But like it's like, oh, but I've been checking these things that people say I should be doing. I have a career. I like why aren't things working out? Like all of those things, right? Like going by the checkbox, but missing out on the actual relationship,
Hmm.
missing out on time with the kids. All of those things are kind of going by because we're just focused on I gotta do these 10 things today or in the next year or whatever it
So
might be.
someone's comment, complex topic, timely for me, guilt, etc. Being open to life, allowing vulnerability, letting go of prior standards as we transition to new phases. Sorry, cannot come up with a succinct comment or question, but love the topic.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah. It's a difficult, as you can see, even for us, we've got notes here, but like it's just how difficult to
articulate.
articulate because this is very internal,
Hmm.
right? What perfectionism could look like for me is different for Syra.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How does it show up for you?
Perfectionism,
Yeah.
um, for the longest time, I wouldn't step into management roles or those types of roles where I have to lead people
Because.
because I didn't know enough. I was too young. I was not educated. All of those things. Like I could give you millions. Like I'm just not ready. And part of it was just like, oh yeah, right. Like it's just for me, it kept me limited. So that's one place that shows up. The other place where it shows up is like sometimes in the like I get it at a kind of 90% quality,
Hmm.
but that extra 10%, I refuse to just give up on it. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes what's happening is that other 90% is now falling apart. So give you an example. So
Hmm.
we were on a project. There's a product that needs to be released, and it was good enough to be released. We continuously make improvement. That's fine, but it was good enough to be released at work. But it's like no, no, no. We got to do that. We got to do that. Like I kept on pushing the deadlines back, and because it just wasn't like the last 10% just wasn't right. Didn't feel right. And so what was happening was that 90% was falling apart as well in the
Mm.
meantime because all of that work that was done, the other people who were working on this part were losing motivation. We're getting frustrated,
Mm.
right? Like so part of it is just and if I look back now, reflecting on it, it was just me saying if it's out there, my name's on it,
What does that mean about me?
and it doesn't work, then everybody's gonna be like,
My
see,
reputation.
yeah, this guy, what other people are gonna say about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, can I tell you what perfectionism looks like to me?
Mm,
A spotless kitchen island.
mm.
You know the island in the kitchen in the middle? Some people have them in their houses.
So you haven't given that up yet.
No. It's a regular battle. That island, if it's clear, wiped down, no crumbs, the things that are on the island actually are supposed to be there, like the bowl of fruit, nothing else. Perfection. I can make guests feel bad because of my obsession with that kitchen island. And it's something I've really had to work on. And I noticed that when we had guests, when my sister was visiting, right? Like I had to
We
breathe
got
through the
into it.
island. And we actually
She asked me to move stuff.
I said, "Can you clear the table?" And he put all the stuff on the island. And I was
Because
like,
where else does it go?
"Do you know my relationship with this island?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea?" I didn't say that. I just gave him a dirty
She
look.
was ready to give up on our relationship over this relationship with the island.
So that is what unhealthy perfectionism looks like in my life. And what my healthy self looks like is plants. Because they are who they are. They're going to do what they do. Sometimes they'll die, even if you do all the right things. My relationship with gardening and plants has totally challenged my identity as a perfectionist. Because it can't be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It can look nice, but what looks nice to me isn't going to look nice to the next person. What plants I find interesting to grow or watch, nobody else cares about. I'm cutting flowers off because I know that's better for plants. Other people are like, save the flowers. So it's not better for plants. It's just, in my opinion, certain plants, I'm like, you need your energy, baby. Stop flowering, and I'll cut off the plant. So, right? It's like a whole different, it's like there's no right way to do that. It's just what feels right. And that's, I think, what's really helped me kind of cut through some of that perfectionism is the gardening.
Mm-hmm. And kids.
Oh my gosh. Kids totally challenge perfectionism. Yes, they do. Because they do it their way all the time.
So when we first got married, the house had to be spotless.
Not just
forget
the kitchen
the
island.
island. Yeah,
I just now I have one spot. I'm like,
Yeah.
please, people, this one spot.
Yeah, forget the island. Like, I'd leave in the morning. She'd be sweeping and mopping the floor. I'd come back. She's still sweeping and mopping the floor. So I'm sure she wasn't just doing that, but it's like really, like
dust and
yeah,
crumbs and
yeah, exactly. There's everywhere. But it was like 5 times a day sweeping. I think was normal.
I had nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, yes, you did.
Except clean my house. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, in between
I
clients.
loved it. It was so soothing. But my mom and I were joking about this, right? About how she said that she probably had anxiety for many, many years, but just cleaned her way out of it. Like she used cleaning as a way to manage. And I wonder how many generations of women, have just like got busy with housework or whatever to manage that feeling of dread or a feeling out of control feeling, right? And now we're just calling it something, but I'm sure generations of women have that. I think if anybody's watching who can relate to this, just say me too in the chat. Are you also someone who needs that tidy kitchen island or that one spot in your house where you're like, if this is tidy, I can breathe. If it's not tidy, I feel like a crazy person.
Don't try to find.
I'm trying to find a tribe here.
Yeah,
others like me.
Yeah,
just join me, please. Somebody, one person. No, I'm alone in this.
You're alone. Nobody cares. But yeah, no, I think for all of us, perfectionism will show up differently, and underneath it are these beliefs and patterns that show up, right? For me, there's a pattern of um, like I'm trying to be worthy, and for me to be worthy, I have to be at this level. It's not okay to be at this level.
Right. You have to be at 100%, 110%.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I mean, you can blame the immigrant mentality, but I think it's more than that, right? Like, yeah, for me growing up, I remember, I think I was mentioning this in a men's group that I was attending. I have this memory of like always coming, like, back home, Pakistan, like they were testing us in kindergarten, and they would give out first place all the way down to the last place in the class.
Oh, so you see what number you have?
I was first.
Like you didn't care about anybody else.
No, I didn't care about what
so
my
everybody
friends.
got a prize. Like 25th got a prize.
No, first got a prize. First and second and third maybe, but first got a prize.
But what about 7th and 12th? And they would
state
it.
They're idiots.
No, but would they tell people what your rank?
Yeah, that's the report card, a monthly report card.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Your number's written there. Right, so you look at that.
You know where you rank.
And people like parents expect.
But there can only be one person in first.
Yeah,
then?
I know.
What about those other 24 kids?
But like, get to the point. So I remember, like in second or third grade, there was another smart kid. And he got first. And after that, I never got first. After that, I'm like,
I can't be first.
I can't be first. I'm just not gonna be good enough. But I wanted to. Like I would try to study, and like I was. The realization came, right, and part of it was just like, oh, that's when I like really gave up that learning for the sake of learning.
Now
like
you're learning as
for
a competition.
Yeah, but like 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 you see me now reading books. I'm just like reading books for the like it's not. I don't. I'm not gonna use it for anything. I just want to read it,
For
right?
interest.
For interest. But before it was always like I gotta learn this so I can use it for something, right? So I can do
Mm.
something with it. But then when time came to do something with it, it was difficult for me to do something with it because I'm like, well, maybe I didn't understand it right. Maybe I didn't understand it properly.
Wow, that is a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah. So like so if you can imagine like that's a perfectionism, knowing that like it was just my mind is like, oh, you'll never be good. But you need to be. It's like you need to drive towards that. And then when I start driving, it's like, yeah, but you know you're gonna fail. You're not gonna come in first. You're not the best. You're not the right. Like, and so why are you even trying? Like all of these thoughts, like these
Right.
kind of split mind thoughts would come in.
And it comes so young, right? So our son, as you may remember, just got back from a trip to Japan. I don't know if we've mentioned that here. And before he left, he was so anxious about this trip because he didn't think he would place well in the tournament because they were there for a karate tournament. And we had a frank conversation, and I said, "Are you planning on being like a master, like martial artist? Is that your goal in life?" And he's like, "No." Like, right. So what does it really matter what place you come in, right? Like if this was like a coding camp or something like that, that you're actually excited, like that was your life passion. Okay, good. Then try hard. And but if you don't really, if this is not your identity and you're not trying to like be amazing, now I don't know. I could have done that totally wrong. Probably look back on this in 5 years and say,
Mm-hmm.
well, that was the wrong advice.
Probably you failed him. It's like I don't need to be a
So he
car.
comes back. He comes back from this like international tournament, right? And we ask him, so how'd you do? Whatever, what'd you rank?
He was laughing. He was
He was
smiling.
like, so he's like, I ranked 7, and we were like, and then he goes, out of 8.
It's
So
like
there was like only 8 people in his category, but you and we all had a good laugh about
he's
it.
like, but I don't need to tell anybody. I'm just gonna tell them I came
I was
seventh in
gonna say
that
there's millions of people at that tournament, and I came 7th in my category. I just want to say that. So I mean, we just kind of joke about it, but there is that like that little bit of pressure, right, that we put on ourselves, and we've probably been putting on ourselves for so many generations. Probably forget our own lifetime, probably generations where we've been like,
Yeah, and again, in that example of our son, the reason, at least for me, that he's in karate is so he can actually get in his body. He was um, he was struggling, right, for many years just to kind of like stand in his body. But now I see him with his friends. Like
mm-hmm,
you can see, like like not just physically strong, but he's like mentally strong, and he's able to kind of say, "Hey, I like this. I don't like this." The friends come over because they trust him,
mm-hmm.
right? They feel safer on him to, right? Like so, all of that has come because of the his participation in karate. Now
Leadership,
his leadership, right? Like
teaching little kids
yeah,
stuff, and yeah.
yeah, and not like how he was minimally, with his cousins,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like okay, so he's playing, but all of that is that confidence is showing up. Now, is that confidence good enough, or does he need to come in first as parents? This is a real conversation, right? Like sometimes it's like what are we trying to get out of him?
Right.
Get out of these children, get out of ourselves, right? And like I said, I'm like now reading books because I don't care. I don't want to use it for anything. I might use
I'm
that
just
information.
interested.
Yeah, I'm just interested, right? Even a novel, a fictional novel, starts a conversation, but it's not for like, oh yeah, I need to remember this book and then I need to quote it 15 times and I need to like use it in this context and
Man,
that
how
context.
stressful was reading?
But that's
I'm
how like
sorry.
but like that those personal development books and all of those things is like okay, where am I going to use it rather than
Gotta do the tabs,
yeah.
highlight.
But the tabs are okay. Tabs are just for me to go back, but like the idea of like I need to be able to use it, right? Like so this work of trying to be better became a perfectionist nightmare because like oh, I got angry again. I might as well give up.
Mm.
Horrible. It's like it was just a cycle. It's like, wait, it's okay. I don't get as angry as I used to. It's in a lot better control. I'm able to catch it a lot sooner. Right? Yesterday, okay, we had a little thing. Okay, I'm gonna walk away. Right? Not stand there and just continue. But like being able to walk away, I'm like, okay, that's a win But if I was a perfectionist, like, oh, why did I even lose control for 10, 15 seconds or whatever it was, right? But it's like, why did I lose? Well, okay, lost control. Fine, move on. But I think that's been the challenge for me is to let things go, because everything then becomes
Right.
uh,
A
uh,
failure or a success.
yeah, everything becomes a victim of this perfectionist nature.
Right.
Even
Look,
even work on myself.
someone's saying, I know of a family member who does it, the cleaning. Truth. Truth. It's not just me. There's at least one person in this universe that has a
I don't think
cleaning
that
thing.
person exists. They're just being
They're
nice.
just being nice. Thank you. Thank you for being nice. And someone else is saying, but he was chosen to go, already a winner. An ability to play through life, very important for a sense of aliveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, how, in the chat, let us know, how is it that you play? What does play look like for you? Because that's the opposite of perfectionism. You can't be perfect at play. Play is play. It's like non-perfection. What do you do to play, Phase? What's your play?
Um.
How do you demonstrate playfulness?
Like yesterday, we do this Dungeons and Dragons with our son. He loves it. Loves it. He loves like coming up with like maps and what. Anyways, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna give in.
Surrender to the play.
Give it to the character, and I was like just making up stories, and he's like, "You're messing up my game." But it's just to laugh, right? Like for me, like it was just, but let's just joke and let's laugh, and so yeah, I think that's how I kind of play
Through laughter, I think that's
through
what it
laughter.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I need a little bit more physical play as well. But yeah, because that used to be my like play basketball and all of those things up until I don't know in my um, kind of like before I got married, I guess, just about, and then after that, I'd
Oh,
not done that. So yeah,
yeah, she just literally pooed.
and that's how she plays. It's just poos all over her house. This old dog of ours. All right, we'll clean it later.
Ah,
And you
so,
see how life is going perfect, and then somebody literally takes a dump on your floor.
somebody you love, so you can't even get mad. Fun, laughter, played table tennis in the community hall yesterday. It felt silly to miss the ball. Yeah, it's just kind of fun, right?
Yeah,
Play.
yeah. So if you're watching this later, just write out like how do you play? What do you do to play? And if even if you don't want to comment, just reflect on
Mm-hmm.
how much of your day is just all serious business.
Mm-hmm. One of the things
Yeah.
I do for play is I like to color,
Hmm.
which I haven't done in a while. I like to scrapbook.
Hmm.
I like to gardening. I'm gonna use that for everything.
You like being made fun of sarcastically,
I like to
or
laugh. I like to
regularly,
listen to humorous people.
like your husband.
Yes,
He's very humorous
at times,
all the time.
occasionally.
Yeah, I think laughter is such a big thing, especially laughing at yourself. I think we've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned this before. Being able, this thing about doing our work all the time, it gets silly and it gets a little too serious. Like sometimes just laugh, like there goes me thinking I know it all. I'm gonna show up in Monday musings, act like an expert, but I couldn't control my emotions. Silly old Faison. Gotta laugh.
I laugh.
Say, I'm not perfect yet.
So, do we have any announcements before we start wrapping it up?
No, so we've got 4 more Monday musings sessions. Okay, somebody said, "Oh, I forgot how to laugh now. Every day is a shot day."
Mm-hmm. So seeing, and sometimes the laughter might be something as simple as watching some comedy or
Mm-hmm.
talking to a friend who makes you laugh. I remember in university, I had this friend, and she would do these impressions, and she had this character that she made up, and she would like act like she was this other person, and it would just make us laugh and laugh and laugh. Just silly stuff, right? It's so easy to do.
And life was hard at that point.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
but there
But
was found
again,
things to laugh
I
about.
think it's yes, life is not easy. we're still going through all our stuff, but finding those moments and finding a little bit of time for laughter,
Mm-hmm.
um, finding things to laugh at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so sometimes it just might be like finding a comedy, the movie or show or whatever, just to start with, just to get you going, right?
Yeah.
And then looking out in the world and just laughing at people and laughing at
No, don't
or
laugh at people.
no, don't laugh, like, you know what I mean, like just looking at situations like, whoa,
This is
yeah,
happening
that's
right now.
hilarious, right? Like, I mean, so there are things that happen to us. Now I just laugh at them rather than get mad at them.
Like the car.
Like the
Okay,
car,
so let me
yeah.
tell you a story, a little funny story. So this car, right? We're all ready. We're early. We're going to set up the birthday party for the triplets. I'm right. I'm driving. I'm so excited. We all get in. I settle in like three seniors, a kid, all the furniture, like everything that we need. Everybody's in. Try to start the car. It doesn't work. Try the car. It doesn't work. Just try. It doesn't work.
And the
Then
light goes out just now, you laugh.
yeah. Then so I don't know if I've told you this story. So then we're sitting in the car trying to turn it on. We're like, well, I guess we'll just go and sit and like take another car. So try to open the door and it's locked. Everybody's now locked in the car. So we're all like trying to open the door, like trying to press the button, trying to open. Then we're like, oh yeah, remember there's like the old fashioned, like you just like click the thing. Like we're trying to press the unlock button, but we're not actually clicking the thing. And so then somebody in the car realized that you could just press, and then we all just burst into so much laughter because we're like, we're trapped in the car. How do we get out? Yeah, remember the little thing just, and that like lightened, and we all had this huge laugh, and then it just made things easier moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. So there's
Okay,
these few
so
last comments
I would
coming
so
in.
some yeah so a few comments here. Someone saying I would like to commit not to take myself so seriously. Yeah, so let's try that this week. What if we were to not take ourselves seriously? Someone saying laughing at people really made me laugh.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you know, now laugh at situations, maybe not at
don't be
people.
mean,
Don't be mean. Don't laugh at them. Like,
but you can have a giggle.
yeah, yeah.
You can have a giggle.
People will do people things sometimes.
Someone saying four more than its chapter closed for Monday musings. Wow, it's been quite a ride,
Yeah.
great adventure, and very grateful you did these. Someone saying it's been a journey though, coming out of spiraling thoughts, but realize nothing I can do about it except take care of
Mm-hmm.
myself. So we'll continue the conversation for the next 3 weeks,
For
3 or 4 until the end of the month. And then keep coming. If you know people who usually attend but didn't make it today, please spread the word that we're winding down. And
we'll send it in our newsletter as well.
yeah, we'll also put it in the newsletter, and we'll have a little bit of a variety of topic as we get closer to the end of the month. We're going to talk more about endings and closure because that's a theme that will be up for people as who have been with us here for a while. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you as always for spending your Mondays with us. Especially for some that might be a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
We, as always, appreciate the time you give us. We appreciate you joining us here, sharing your thoughts. Hopefully, you laugh with us or even at us.
Or even roll
We,
your eyes at
yeah,
us.
you can laugh at
Anything.
us. We can't see you, so it's fine. You can laugh at us as well. Whatever gets you to laugh today. Um, and I think we can all commit to finding that that child of us,
Mm-hmm.
child in us that just
So
loves to laugh.
someone's asking, so how do we get these sessions? How do we get to these sessions? After the end of the month, we're not going to actually have these sessions anymore. We do have all the recordings on YouTube that we've done over the last couple of months. And yeah, just stay posted. The newsletter will be coming out, and Faizan will be starting a podcast as well. So there's a weekly video every week on YouTube already on Therapist Thursday. So there's lots of other stuff that's going to happen, but it won't be live.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
So that's the change. So we will see you on Monday if you can make it.
Okay, let's end our streaming.
Okay.
Bye to the YouTube and Facebook